Training and organized by the Thought Leadership. I am Dr. Vasanthi, and I'm an independent trainer and consultant. Leaders Connect 360 is started with a specific objective of inviting 1,000 leaders and creating 1,000,000 leaders. A hybrid model leadership community where every Wednesday from 6:30 p.m. to 7:15 p.m. we learn from top management leaders on Zoom Live, and once in 3 months in each city, we will have an offline networking meet to network, support, and grow with the leaders. That's when we call as leaders create more leaders. Currently, all are muted, and we will be giving you an opportunity to speak to our guest, Mr. Nishant Agrawal, Chief Learning Officer as Jewelex India Private Limited. But before that, let me also share that we are currently live on LinkedIn, and this episode LC090 is being recorded. For the visitors who are joining the first time, you may also click on the WhatsApp, Facebook, and LinkedIn link on the chat box to get updates on weekly basis and join us in creating more leaders. Also, we request all our members and visitors to turn on your videos, which will help us in making the episode highly interactive. So, are we all ready to interact with our guest, Mr. Nishant Agrawal, Chief Learning Officer at Jewelex India Private Limited, on the topic of creating a learning culture? Then please type yes in the chat box. Thank you, members and visitors. Before the introduction of the guest, let me also take the privilege to introduce founder of interaction with our guest, along with the panel discussion leader, Mr. Sandeep Kulkarni. I welcome you all. Thank you once again. I hand over the session to Prakash Sharma, sir.
Yes, hi everyone. So Prakash Sharma will be joining us shortly. And thank you, Ms. Vasanthi, for the great curtain raising. And I welcome you all for the community, the visitors and the members. I welcome you all for the community for the particular topic, creating a learning culture. I welcome our guest of honor, Mr. Nishant Agarwal, and our panel discussion leader, Mr. Sandeep Kulkarni, and the author of the week, Ms. Vasudha Madan. Thank you so much for being participating in this particular episode. And without taking much time, I hand over the session to Mr. Sandeep Kulkarni and guest of honor, Mr. Nishant Agarwal. Yes, Mr. Sandeep, you can take over the session now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Arul. So before beginning with the actual session, the topic is interesting, I know. And this brings me to a very famous futuristic quote, which was written in 1970 in a book, Future Shock, by Alvin Toffler. In the year 1970, he wrote this particular quote. The quote says, the illiterate of the 21st century will be those who cannot read and write, and but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Let me repeat again. The illiterate of the 21st century will be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. I'm wondering, 1970, that's about 52 years ago, he was talking about learning, unlearning, and relearning. I was in the 70s and 80s, I was in school and college, and possibly learning or studying was something which was given the emphasis. Like people will question me, what are you studying, when I was going in school or college? As I started going into corporate culture and started experience corporate life, of course, I have a background coming from IT industry. And people used to ask me, what are you learning these days? And that has been going on ever since that, for more than 35 years. Even till today, though now I'm in a coaching industry, people will ask me, what are you learning these days? So this is the change which has happened from studying to learning. But some people still have dilemma, what is studying and learning? So Nishantji, I should be addressing you by Nishant or Agrawal? What is your preference?
completely up to you. And I would love if you call me Nishant, just Nishant. That's it.
Okay, fine. Thank you. So Nishant, my first question for today is learning different from studying? As I said, some people say study, some people say learning. So what's the exact difference between studying and learning? And why learning is given so much of emphasis in recent times, even in small and mid-sized organizations? Because learning was part of big corporates. That was all in front, and why the emphasis is more on learning these days?
Very interesting question, Sandeep ji. Before I answer this question, first of all, good evening to all the guests who have joined in, and thank you for hosting me. Thank you for inviting me. Just a moment. Yeah. So coming to your question, Sandeep ji, if you ask me, what is the difference between learning and studying, and if there is a difference between the two, I would simply say that learning will always reflect in three things: MBA, not the Master in Business Administration, but change in mindset, progressive change in mindset, progressive change in behavior, which results in further action. So studying might not result in MBA, which is change in mindset, behavior, and action, but learning will definitely do that. Coming to the second part of your question, which is why these days even smaller and medium-sized companies are focusing so much on learning. I would rather say learning will never depend on the size or demographics of the company, but rather it would depend on the intent of the company. So the company, why does it exist? First of all, the company exists because the founders found a problem and plugged that problem through a product or solution. As simple as that. And that was only possible because the company was learning. So any size of the company, any demographics of the company, irrespective of industry, the company has to keep on learning, has to keep on evolving itself. So I hope that answers your question.
Oh, yes, that's wonderfully answered. No doubt about it. So that brings then to point, if some companies, because I'm sure any learning also requires a budget. So if companies may not have that much of a budget for L&D development and all that, so those companies which doesn't have that sort of a budget, or they don't have the culture of learning, will they not be able to compete and grow in order to achieve their desired results or outcomes? What is that perspective in this century or in the current times, or post-COVID time, you can say?
Sure, Sandeep ji. So in my opinion, if any organization doesn't have that culture of learning at the fulcrum of people's strategy, they are going to fade away one or the other day. So it is like just surviving, playing the game of survival. That's okay. You can afford not to learn or not to have a learning culture. But at the same time, I would like to give a disclaimer out here for everybody who is present. Most of the times what I have seen is that we equate learning to training. So in my experience, what I have seen is that training only happens to be only the 10%, 20% of the formal structured learning or the template which is set by the HR. But I represent a company called Jewelex India Private Limited, which is a manufacturing major in jewelry and diamond vertical. So we have deliberately kept learning at the fulcrum of our culture building, our people strategy, our human capital strategy, I would say. So in that sense, I would always say that even if you don't have a penny for spending on training, you cannot afford to lose the essence of having a learning culture within the organization, which primarily talks about learning from your mistakes, learning from your experiences, learning from your successes, failures, learning from the benchmarks, learning from anything which is happening across the industries, documenting it and sharing it with the relevant people so that the company can reflect those new knowledges and insights in their day-to-day behavior. As I said earlier, MBA, the mindset, the behavior, and the action has to be in the right direction in order to be a learning organization. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you have answered, like even if there is no budget, there is still learning possible, which possibly doesn't require so much of money allocated for learning and development. In different ways, learning by experience, learning from failures, all those particular things, yes, management definitely get advantages. But where there is this sort of a culture is not there, are they in a position to compete in the future and growing? Is it possible?
As I said, Sandeepji earlier, that they are, if any organization doesn't have that bent of mind to keep on learning, whether it is through formal or through informal channels, ultimately they are going to fade away. It might happen after 5 years, after 10 years. If you don't have a learning culture right at the center of your people strategy, definitely you have a recipe for disaster. Very soon you're going to see that. So in that sense, you will not be able to compete. I would not say that you'll not be able to compete, because competition is growing at a different rate altogether. And if you don't pay heed to it in time, basically that's the recipe for disaster. In fact, I would rather say that if you don't have a budget for training, in itself, that puts a lot of question mark on, I would say, the leadership of the organization, because it is like, as this adage is actually very old. Let me quote it: that if the CFO and the CHRO of the organization, they are having a discussion, what if the CFO asks, "What if I train my people and they leave one day?" So the CHRO gives the answer that, "What if I don't train my people and if they stay with me?" So that's a bigger cost, I would say.
Correct. That means obviously owner or leadership has a lot to think if they are not already in the learning culture
Absolutely.
or the concept of learning in the organization.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. I think that was well explained, this particular point as well. See, you have been in different roles at Jewelex. You were into L&D as a manager, senior manager, general manager, and now you are chief learning officer. I think you are close to 10 years working in this organization.
That's right.
And obviously, many organizations over a period of time at different stages have gone into this learning culture. So what was the turning point, or what incident or a situation triggered for the leadership, or maybe from your perspective, that Jewelex should have a culture of learning? I mean, when was the need felt in such type of organization? When I say such type of organization, in the sense, what I really want to say, typically, unlike like IT companies or engineering companies, where the learning culture is constantly there and that is the backbone of their survival.
That's right.
But when it comes to jewelry industry, typically a jewelry industry, if you see, was traditionally an unorganized sector.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's in the last 20 years, we have been seeing bigger companies in the market in the jewelry. But traditionally, it has been an unorganized sector where it's more concentrated on workers oriented. Typically, the workers are someone who is 10th or 12th standard pass. He may have some basic skills or basic knowledge. His craftsmanship may be good. All that thing is fine. But it was still an unorganized sector. And that's where, those people won't have the aim to grow further in becoming a graduate or postgraduate or something like this. So what was the situation at Jewelex where it got triggered that we should have this culture, or we should have a chief learning officer in the organization? Because moment you have chief learning officer, that itself shows that the learning culture is there. It is only the way we are channelizing the learning culture. That is what is important, and that is the role of chief learning officer. So what incident or situation triggered in the company to go with the learning culture?
Thank you for asking this question, Sandeep ji. In fact, very interesting. And in fact, this question is very close to my heart, because what happens is that nobody thinks like that. If you are not well versed with how the jewelry industry functions, you'll not be able to think that there is a company or there is an industry where probably L&D budget is a struggle. So I'm fortunate enough to be working with a company where L&D budget has never been a challenge for me, wherein I have been given that liberty and freedom and empowerment to create that learning ecosystem. Now, coming to the question, the trigger point or the inflection points for our organization, I would say that there have been multiple instances during the last, I would say, 2 decades, where the organization realized that if we want to be right at the top, it is important to keep on evolving. And if you want to evolve, you have to adapt to the situation, the changing situation, the market dynamics and everything. Now, let me give you an example. If you want to, as Jewelex, as an organization, if you want to attract the right talent, the top talent, it means that we will have to compete with the best of the worlds. And we cannot afford to be in our own world and see that what other companies are doing within the jewelry industry. We'll have to look outside our company, outside our industry, and see what is the best practices which are going across, and then learn from those best practices, the benchmarks, the best in class SOPs, everything put together. The first inflection point which we had was the launch of CZ. If you are aware of it, this is basically man-made diamonds, which was a big threat in 2012-13. It is still a threat, but now the companies have come to terms with it and they know how to deal with this danger. So this was predominantly, those who are not aware, let me tell them that this was basically a man-made diamond, which was as good as a real diamond, which was manufactured in factories through the complete process, mining and everything. Now, what happened is that the cost of these 2 diamond pieces was like huge, and the quality was probably not easy to define whether which one was a real diamond or which one was man-made diamond or lab-grown diamond. So this was the instance, one of the instances where we realized that we need to have a learning mindset approach, a growth mindset approach, where we can compete with the best of the world. Second, I would say that when we started our transformation journey at Jewelex, we figured out one thing, that largely the functional heads were performing supremely well in their own right, in their own functions, but predominantly they were working in silos. And our top management realized collectively, we thought that the competition can copy our products, the competition can take our people, they can copy our processes as well, but they cannot copy our culture. So what made sense for us in 2013-14 was to break those silos and have a culture of cross-team collaboration where all these functions are working in synergy, in tandem, so that Jewelex grows. And therefore, the entire learning culture started gaining momentum in 2013 and 14. So these are 2 things. After pandemic also, we realized that a lot of things need to change. So definitely things are keeping evolving at Jewelex as always.
Yeah, thank you. So what I understood is obviously man-made diamonds was one of the situation, and various function heads were working in silos, and the situation of Corona which came through. So these are some of the incidences which triggered the leadership to look for growth or bringing the learning culture, so that really we compete with our competitors. That is what I could guess from this particular answer. Fantastic. Okay, let's move ahead. Now you have see, as I said, the jewelry industry is predominantly workers oriented, but having said that, typically like Jewelex or any of that size organization or some of the big organizations today have people at various different levels. It's not only just owner and a worker, which possibly we would have seen in 60s, 70s and 80s concept. Today, as you said, chief learning officer, chief finance officer, chief administrative officer, all these particular positions. Then there are maybe board of directors, maybe if it's a owner, then ownership driven companies, all these particular things. Obviously there will be certain challenges, but what best learning experiences from your perspective you were able to bring at these different levels? I mean, the learning experiences which you had previously, maybe with other organization or which you came across from other organization, which were some of the best examples you were able to bring, where you were able to see the impact or somebody was able to measure that impact, maybe tangibly or maybe intangibly, whatever it is, but you were able to really see the impact that, okay, this is what the change which has brought in because of bringing this learning culture.
So to answer your question, Sandeep ji, when we started our learning journey, I would say learning was equated to training. Now, since last 3-4 years, we have been able to minimize that impact, and now the focus is more towards learning rather than a formal training per se. So when we started our journey, the focus was completely on classroom trainings, and as you said rightly, junior industry or any typical manufacturing setup does not spare their people. They do not spare their people to go in a training program, let's say, which is a 2-day program or a 3-day program, because that's a productivity loss for them, production loss for them. But gradually and slowly and gradually, we made them realize that ultimately, when they come back, they are more productive, they are more efficient, and they are more motivated to put their heart and soul towards their job. And therefore, the employee engagement levels were increased. So we work in partnership with a company called Blessings White, wherein we measure the employee engagement every year. And recently, we have partnered with Great Place to Work with as well. And we were the first company in SEEPS to be certified as GPTW. So all these things put together gives us an experience, allows us to create an experience for our employees who are empowered to learn on their own. So gradually and slowly, after pandemic, what we realize is that the world is moving towards a learning ecosystem which is more self-paced and on your pace, at your place. So in that sense also, we have been able to create that ecosystem where we want to take workers, managers, senior managers, the HODs, everybody on the learning spectrum in a very, very equitable way. So therefore, we have launched our LMS as well around 3 years back. We have a fully loaded learning management software, which allows even the workers to access courses and modules at their spare time on their mobile phones. So which in a way is creating a different learning experience for them altogether. And the courses have been designed in such a way that they are available in vernacular languages as well. It has a lot of interactive element into it, so that because when you're dealing with blue collar people, it is important to speak their language, wherein they are empowered to learn, they are enticed in the world of learning, because for them initially there is a lot of backlash that I'll be losing my productive time. So it has to be really good. So all that stuff has been done, and now the culture is there where even the blue collar workers find it very interesting to spend time on the software itself, where these learning programs or the learning modules which are there on the software, they correspond to their development needs per se. So we don't want a situation where if HR is not conducting a training program for 2 years, let's say, the employee should be waiting for some kind of a training or development or growth intervention. They should be empowered enough to go on the software, search whatever they want. If I want to learn Excel, the software allows you to do that at any given point of time. If you want to learn coding, you can go and do that. At the same time, we have created a lot of learning documents which are in accordance with the SOPs. So these animated SOPs allow our employees to learn the trick of the trade in a much more user-friendly way. So I would say that we have been able to successfully learn the entire learning landscape at Jewelex, though we have a long road to cover. But again, I would say that the direction is definitely there.
Okay, thank you. You really hit the nail on the head with all the points. Rather, my next question also you already answered. But what I liked is, like, typically like a IT industry, I'm seeing that LMS, performance management system, all that at Jewelex is already in place, because this is where the L&D goes through in IT industry as well. In the sense training, LMS, self-learning, performance management, appraisal. These are some of the, in fact, I never thought jewelry industry has grown to this level. And you already explained, and one part of my next question rather, that was I was to ask what challenges or hurdles you come across while doing this particular development in the organization, bringing the culture. But as a coach, my next question, the second part of my next question was, see, coaching has been also evolving in the last couple of years. It was to the affluent class or to the leadership maybe 5 years back. But in the last 2 to 5 years, things have changed. Coaching is taught even at ground level to the officers, to the executive level people as well, based on the organization need. Because a lot of time, though there is an organization culture, learning culture, organization values are there, but the employees are unaware about what are their personal values, what are their beliefs. They are unaware about many things in the industry as such. They are unaware about what is the growth channel they have, or they have certain performance issues. I mean, not able to match with the manager, reporting manager. I mean, all these particular challenges they face. So I would like to know whether you as an organization or L&D has any time tried to engage external coaches for the development of employees, obviously at executive level and all those. But having said that, I also would like to know whether there is any desire by workers to grow, those who are especially 10th and 12th qualified, to be an officer, to be at an executive level, or they remain on the shop floor only throughout their life career. So external coaches engagement, that is what I thought I would like to know.
So Sandeep, to answer your question, we have been associated with top-notch coaches right from 2013. Though, as you said correctly, initially this was done with the executive leadership only, but 2016-17 onwards, what we have been able to do is that we have started creating development plans even for the blue-collar workers as well. So I wouldn't say that every blue-collar worker has a development plan, but definitely those who are slightly evolved, they take interest in learning, we reward them through assessment. And this assessment is typically into 3 spaces. One happens to be a 360-degree assessment, which is only for AM and above. The second one is 180-degree assessment, where we take care of all the staff and the workers. And the third one is a typical psychometric assessment, which is based on 16 personality factors. Now, this is a very scientific way of doing learning need assessment, wherein we come to know that these are the areas where somebody is found wanting on, let's say, behavioral skills or functional skills or the technical skills. And then we chalk out a very, very comprehensive development plan for these people, which correspond in learning journeys. And these learning journeys are embedded through our LMS. And the LMS allows us, tech-wise, it allows us, us as an HR and L&D team and the supervisors to keep a tab on the progress of these people. So as you're aware that not everybody is interested in self-paced learning. So we would see a lot of people taking interest, while a lot of big part which does not take interest in self-paced learning. So we would try to give them some reward, some recognition, so that they are also in this learning spectrum, and comprehensively we can take everyone as an equitable employer, everyone in the learning spectrum. Okay. So that's how I would answer this question.
Yeah. Wonderful. I think you have answered all my questions, because I see Jewelex is at full-fledged organization from HR perspective or L&D perspective, and every employee need has been taken care of, typically like any other industry. And learning culture is already there, as you said, from last 15 odd years, but more emphasis came from 2013 onwards by engaging external companies as well. So thank you very much for your inputs. I appreciate that, and let Arul take over the control from here onwards. Thank you. Thank you, Nishant.
Thank you, Mr. Sandeep, and thank you, Mr. Nishant, for the great session.
Pleasure.
And it's amazing actually for throwing in so many insight about the learning culture. And thank you, Mr. Sandeep, for throwing so many insight questions about the learning culture. And that was great answers by Mr. Nishant also. So now it's time for a little quiz. So for the quiz, I request Mr. Nagaraju for the little quiz for the members and the visitors for today. Yes, Mr. Nagaraju.
Hi, good evening all, and good evening to everyone.
Good evening.
And, special good evening to Sandeep sir and Nishant sir, and you both people are make very beautiful to this session and to entire to all. Then coming to my question, what is the 3 words needed in learning process as per the Nishant sir? Hello, can I repeat the once again? What is
Yes,
the three words needed in learning process as per Nishant sir perspective?
Yes. So now I request members and visitors can either two ways of answering. You can type in or you can raise hands. So answers are coming up. Yes, Mr. Nagaraju, you can see the answers.
Very happy to see the answers. So
Mindset, behavior, action. Thank you. And the answer is coming. And the MBA,
Yes.
MBA, mindset, behavior, and action. And she is the one, Priyanka Bhatia. And today the quiz winner.
Yes. So who is the quiz winner for today?
Priyanka Bhatia, she is.
Priyanka Bhatia. Oh, congratulations, Priyanka Bhatia, for winning the quiz for today. Great. That. So mindset and behavior is the action. Wow, that's a great answer from Miss Priyanka Bhatia. Wow, great. Thank you, Nagaraju, for the small quiz session. Now I handle the session.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Yes. Yes, Mr. Prakash, you can take on the session.
Hey, great. Thank you very much. Awesome that Mr. Nishant, thank you very much for joining us in for today's platform of Leaders Connect. It's been a great pleasure that you've joined us, and thank you very much. And thanks, Sandeep, for taking up the role as a panel discussion leader as well. We're doing a great role. And all the members and all the visitors who joined us for the first time, yes, definitely, that's a lot of learning from Nishant is what we've received today. And Nishant Agrawal has shared that how do we actually create a learning culture, and MBA is working very good. And when I did join, that's when you're talking about this MBA, which is really nice. So we take more time and then we will continue. Nishant, I'll just take 2 more minutes. Every week after week, as we invite leaders like these, like you all, we also feel that we also invite few authors as well, and how we all understand the learning from each other. And that's how even from the authors, they also have their own ways of doing. So that's when every week one author also we invite and share about their book, which helps each other in their growth. So today also we have one author, Miss Vasudha Madan, correct? If I have pronounced your name, Miss Vasudha, right? So Miss Vasudha Madan is the author of the week. So thanks very much, Miss Vasudha, for joining us as well here for her book called Resign or Redesign. Oh, very nice. Either you resign or redesign your aspects of what you need to do for solutions. Great, Vasudha. A quick brief about Vasudha, and then we generally what we do is every quiz winner gets the book of the author. Am I right, Vasudha? So today Priyanka Bhatia is our quiz winner. So congratulations, Priyanka Bhatia. For all the other members here and visitors here, you can type in the chat box. Congratulations, Priyanka Bhatia. And Priyanka, you also will be getting an opportunity to interact with our guest, Mr. Nishant Agrawal, as well as with our author and a panel discussion leader as well. So members, visitors, guests, let me take a quick privilege to introduce Vasudha Madan, and then let's listen from her a short stint of what her book about Resign to Redesign is. So a quick intro about Vasudha. Miss Vasudha Madan is a quickie and a very ambivert individual whose writing is so relatable. She doesn't hold back anything. And if she wants it, she will get it, whether it's a master's in English literature or an MPhil degree or directing or producing or even writing so many plays. So besides this, Miss Vasudha has also been working as a language consultant for the past 17 years. And also she's a wife, mother of two, an entrepreneur, a mentor, an author, and a self-love consultant. A lot more to talk about Vasudha Madan. But Vasudha, I'll give it to you to explain a short and brief about what's this book called Resign to Redesign, and who or for whom is this book very useful. That will be adding more value on say. Yes, Vasudha, over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prakash, for that beautiful introduction. Thanks a lot. And it's been really nice listening to Sandeep ji and Nishant ji. I mean, it was so gripping, and it actually did get my attention right from the beginning. So especially we started this session with the 3 words. Sandeep, you started the session with those 3 words: learn, unlearn, and relearn, right?
Yes.
So I think that's the entire basis of our life, right? And I very strongly believe in this concept. I mean, it's great to hear the word that what I call concept is something which needs to be translated into a culture in this society, a culture of learning, right? So wo tab hoga when we will actually understand what exactly it is. So I feel it's not enough to just learn about what you need to learn at your workplace. So in my own personal experience, I think as I started to know myself better, I could perform better in my career. I began on its own, I began to get opportunities which I had not even set as my goals. So I feel it is very important. Like in an organization, what is important? To first understand who you are. What is the problem that you're going to actually solve? Right, Nishanji? Those were the things we were talking about, right? So, I think life itna complicated hai nahi jitna humne usko bana diya. These are very simple questions. These are not that complicated. So the way we address these questions for our organization, who we are, what we do, how we will do what we will do, what are our goals for this year, for the next 5 years, and what is our vision for those next 10 years, I think we just need to apply the same knowledge to ourselves. So it is said that a tree is as strong as its roots, and the trees which survive the storms are the trees which have stronger roots, right? So are we, a strong individual, someone who has self-awareness, and we need to be ready to learn things, unlearn things, and relearn things else also, because we are also continuously changing. No, it's not just the dynamics of the organization. It's because we don't do that for ourselves that we feel lost in a place. So a leader is someone who never gets lost. A leader is someone who helps others also find themselves. So what do you need to do? Find yourself first, so that you can align with others' goals also. And when you have your personal goals, it is very easy to respect others' goals and love them as well. So that's what I do. That's what I've applied to my life all this while. And that's which has always brought me success. So what I've done in this book, I have just deduced those things into simple rules. They're very simple, easy to follow. So, I mean, we don't have an option to resign, no? Option is to redesign. And thank you so much. I just loved being here. That's what self-love is all about: to know about yourself, have clarity about yourself, and knowing and clarity will automatically lead you to the courage, to the determination you need to achieve there, whether those are your organizational goals or your personal goals. So that's all. And I'm really happy for Miss Bhatia, who's gonna get this book. Let me know where the book has to go and it will reach there. Thank you so much. It was indeed awesome being here. And I really loved listening to Sandeep ji and Nishant ji.
Wonderful.
So much.
Thanks
for
very much.
being this
Yeah, thanks very
opportunity.
much, Vasudha. It's awesome knowing you and all the participants. I'm sure we all are having, in fact, the book itself is 50 magical rules to transform your life. And I'm sure the experience of Vasudha, there are 50 magical rules are there in that book as well. Am I right, Vasudha?
Yes.
Which is going to transform your life as well. So,
Yes.
and Priyanka is the right person who's backed that book. So congratulations, Priyanka, once again. Arul will help you, Vasudha, as how that book can be delivered to Priyanka as well. And Arul will interact with you in detail.
Yeah, I also want to thank Arul for being the person who coordinated so beautifully amongst us. Thank you, Arul.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Arul, and thanks, Vasudha. So members and visitors and all our guests. So now is the time for asking open questions. All the members and visitors who are here for the first time, please feel free to ask any more new questions, real-time challenges from your company or what is it you have. You can ask the open questions to me, our guest, Mr. Nishant Agrawal, or to any of our panel discussion leaders. We have Mr. Sandeep and our author, Ms. Vasudha as well. So feel free to be open to ask any questions, and here's where the answers can come. But initially, there are two ways to ask. Either you raise your hand and we give an opportunity to unmute you and then you can ask a question, or already Ms. Geeta Verma has already done, I believe so. Or if you wish to type your question in the chat box, please feel free to type it in and we take it on your behalf. So since Geeta Verma has already raised her hand, so we give an opportunity to Ms. Geeta Verma. I will kindly unmute Ms. Geeta Verma. Please go ahead, Ms. Geeta, with your question.
Thank you so much for taking my question. Mr. Agrawal, I have a question, twofold question. One is from the mind of a woman and the other from a professional person. So the question is, you said you are also into lab oriented diamond creating, right? So
Yeah, that's
a
right.
diamond is a diamond is a diamond. So how is it going to displace the original diamond? Because to
So
my
your question
mind,
is, yeah,
because to
please,
my
please complete.
mind, a diamond is exclusive from the rocks. You are trying to displace. This is a disruption that we are seeing everywhere. So please do explain, how do I trust it? Thank you.
Okay. So I think there is a second part of your question as well. You said that there are two parts to it, or this is it. Okay, let me answer.
Okay.
So basically, yeah, Geeta, as I see things here, these kind of disruptions which kind of shake the entire industry are something which probably are not in our hands and which are completely beyond your control. But at the same time, give us enough opportunities to look and introspect what are we doing correctly and what probably we can do better. So in that sense, what we have done, first of all, we were fighting with this, that how can this happen? As you said rightly, that there is a diamond which forms over a period of 100 of years. And the beauty of that diamond is unmatched, as you said. But how can you match it with something which is lab grown in a span of, let's say, 2-3 days, or let's say 10-15 days? But eventually, what we realize is that we are actually breaking our head with something which is probably not going to break at all. And we are going to do damage to our own brand itself. So what we did is that we realized it's time to learn from what is happening across the industry and take this forward. And therefore, in the last couple of years, we have launched our own brand, which is Everbright. And if you're really interested, you can go to our Instagram handle and raise your query, and you'll be able to shop for yourself. And that's the only window of sales from the Jewelex platter, because Jewelex is largely into B2B space, wherein we cater to export market only. So Everbright Jewelry is our LGD arm, which is lab-grown diamond arm, which takes care of the man-made diamonds as well. So rather than fighting with the disruption, we have leveraged on it and made it one of our strengths in the last couple of years. We are doing really well in the LGD.
Wonderful. Thanks very much, Nishant, for sharing that awesome experience. And thanks, Geeta, for asking the question, in fact, which takes us to go more deeper, in fact, as how Jewelex is doing in this. Thanks very much. So good. So we have one more question, Nishant. It's okay. We can just take that from Mr.
Absolutely.
Giri.
Yeah.
So after this, also we can also have a quick understanding from Ms. Priyanka, because she is the winner of the quiz as well. So we'd like to, Priyanka will give you a quick option to introduce yourself, so that will add more value in front of all as well. So after Giri's question, Mr. Giri, over to you with your question.
Thank you, Prakash ji. Today, again, thank you to Mr. Nishant. Really, the crisp answers, I really loved it. But even though I lately joined, but I enjoyed your MBA. What is the, after finishing my diploma, I did anything. I did nothing. Sorry. After I learned in 2017, I finished my corporate trainer. Then only I came to know this the learning industry, the trainer industry. I learned so many things, and networking is a network like that. I am completely in touch with all the peoples. The question is the MBA program. Already I did it. I purchased one MBA program, Master of Business Automation from MSME. And this today again that mindset, the behavioral action. So it is the right time, and the people, the even employees or entrepreneurs have to connect with the right mindset. In my business, almost 25 years of experience, total exam, my business experience almost 12 years. I have seen recession, demonetization, and then this 100 years COVID every time. But after this, the complete pattern has changed. So what is a, already you told about the MBA, what mindset we have as an entrepreneur, what mindset we should have, and the employees.
Okay.
Thank you, Girija, for asking this question. As I understand, let me rephrase your question and correct me if I'm wrong. You want to understand, looking into the unprecedented changes which have happened in the last, let's say, 1 decade or so, and pinnacled by the COVID debacle, which hit us really hard. Your question is, how do we keep on evolving in terms of mindset, behavior, and action? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, Giriji, to answer your question, I would strongly recommend a book called Psychology of Success, written by Carol Dweck. We follow it in toto at Jewelex, wherein we have a very, very strong growth mindset culture. And to throw some light, I'm not going to delve deeper into it, but the whole thought of the book is how do you see challenges? There are 5 kind of building blocks which are defined in the book. So the first building block is challenges. How, with what lens do you see a challenge? If you have a growth mindset, you will see challenge as an opportunity. And if you have a fixed mindset, you will see challenge as a roadblock. So the first block happens to be challenge. Again, that's an acronym, just like MBA. I'm going to give you another acronym, which is COSEC. So COSEC. So C stands for challenge. The second one is obstacle. So if you have a fixed mindset, you will see obstacle as something which is stopping you to reach your goals. While if you see this obstacle through the lens of a growth mindset, you will see a solution as well over there. So that happens to the second mindset or second behavior of the mindset. The third one in COSEC is success of others. So when I see somebody getting promoted within my team, the fixed mindset will always cajole me towards a direction that ye to boss ka chamcha hai. This guy is always, I would say, doing chamchagiri for the boss. But at the same time, if I take that lens of growth mindset, I'll be able to see what is positive in this guy or girl. And that's the reason why this guy or girl is being promoted. So that's the third part, which is success. Fourth one is in COSEC is effort or failure. So what lens do you see an effort? As a path to mastery, that's the growth mindset. And if you see effort as something which is meaningless, something which actually puts you down, that's the fixed mindset. And at the same time, failure as well. How do you see failure? As a stepping stone or as something which defines you as a person? That's the fixed mindset. So to go to growth mindset, you have to see failure as a stepping stone, and where we we can fail number of times. It is important to get back to where we were and fight it along. So the last part of COSEC is criticism or feedback. So this book clearly mentions that एक champion की खुराक feedback होती है. So a champion thrives on feedback and criticism. But with fixed mindset, when I see feedback or criticism, it comes to me as something which is like the boss is paid to criticize me. His only job is to criticize me. That's a fixed mindset. But with the growth mindset lens, you will see that, okay, these are the areas of improvement which I keep on honing. I become a better version of myself. So the entire COSEC formula gives you a complete package of mindset, behavior, and action, which can help you thrive in any kind of a given situation. I hope that answers your question, Giriji.
Awesome, awesome, sir. Awesome. Really,
Thank
it's
you.
a wonderful thing. Just one another question. Can I, Prakash ji, is that time?
But I believe the time should be a challenge here. Giri, maybe I would request you to quickly share the question in the chat box and we'll take the question separately with Nishant. Is that okay, Giri?
Okay,
Yeah.
just one word, I will finish it. The only thing is already I am talking about the water management and the people calling us a water doctor. Now I am moving to 5-element concept. I don't know whether it is multitasking or not, but I'm not came out from that things. Most of the people are telling that, no, you are doing multitasking, but it's my duty. After COVID, it's my duty. It's our body is 5-element. Like that is universe is 5-element.
Yeah.
We have to connect it there. Thank you.
True. Thanks very much, Giri,
Thanks a
for
lot.
sharing
Thanks
that. And over it, and we need to connect with the 5 elements. That's really awesome. Thanks very much for sharing that question, and awesome answers been given by Nishant. And Nishant, I believe there is a question comes from the chat box. What's the book name you said there, right? What's the book name
Psychology
of
of Success by Carol Dweck. Let me type it out in the
the
chat
book?
box.
Psychology of Success is the name of
Yeah.
the book, right? Okay.
Yeah, I'm typing the name of the author, Carol Dweck.
Prakash,
Carol
there is a question in the chat as well. Let me read it. If possible, let Nishant address it. Otherwise, maybe offline.
Sure,
Which form of, it is from Tarun Kohli. He asked, which form of learning way is most effective according to you? For example, on the job learning, peer-to-peer learning, or is it classroom style learning?
So rather than picking out of these three, one, I would say that the learning has to be very comprehensive, which is a good mix of all these three. And as usually it is said that the mix should be in the ratio of 10-20% of classroom learning, which is again supported and complemented by peer-to-peer learning. And then the action learning projects should be given in such a way that it corresponds to the behavioral development areas or functional or technical areas in such a way that it coincides with your job on day-to-day basis. And then only the A part of that MBA will take place. Otherwise, things will stop at the B part. You have learned a lot, but you'll not be able to put that into practice if you don't have that on-the-job experience. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, Nishant, this reminds me 2 sessions back, lead on this same platform. There was a talk on this and I addressed that question. It was 70-20-10 formula.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
On the job training, self-learning and all that, and 70%
That's right.
is what you learn on the job.
That's
That is the answer. But you gave a comprehensive that mix of all three is a good option. Thank you. Thank you.
Nishant. Thanks, Sandeep, for bringing that question as well to this platform. And we have much more and more questions, but yes, as the time is a constraint, we will stop here. But I'll just give an option for Priyanka to introduce herself, and then we get into a summary of the program. Where Nishant, I would request you to share the summary of what all we had key pointers which we have understood from our discussion from Mr. Nishant Agrawal. So, Ms. Priyanka, would like to introduce yourself as you are the quiz winner to receive Ms. Vasudha Madan's book, Resign or Redesign. So, Ms. Priyanka.
Yes. Hi all. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So first of all, I would like to thank to Sandeep sir, because today Sandeep sir messaged me for this session, and this is the first time I am attending this session. So I am working in Ambuja Cement Foundation as a senior facilitator, soft skills. And overall, I have 8+ years of experience. So Nishant sir explained very nicely about concept, and I will really join all these sessions. because lot of things are there to learn and
Yes.
unlearn and then relearn. So thank you so much. Thank you, Sandeep sir, and thank you all.
Pleasure.
Thanks. Thank you very much, Priyanka, and congratulations for winning the book Resign or Redesign from Vasudha Mother. Thanks, Vasudha,
Congratulations,
as well
Priyanka.
for joining us
Thank
today.
you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good. Thank you. So over to you, Sandeep Kulkarni, for a short summary of what all we have understood from this particular episode of Nishant, and quickly in a nutshell, and then we come to an end of our episode for today and introduce our next week's leader as well. So over to you, Sandeep.
Yes, the short summary, of course, I started with the quote, and that quote, as I said, 50 years back, this has been written, and it is so much true today. Possibly the author is no more. I would have asked him, can you give a quote for the next 50 years so that we know where we are. But having said that, Nishant started, the first point was FBA. Obviously, that was the question. And
Yes.
that is what I like: mindset, behavior, and action. Yes, these three things we can learn, unlearn, and relearn again. This is something which was my major takeaway. And having understood that Jewelex is an organization, or the industry of jewelry is evolving, though there are workers, executives, officers, managers, and all that, but they are already much ahead into the learning culture. This is what something was new. I was unaware about learning culture is there in jewelry oriented companies or not, but definitely the answers which he gave, apt answers which he gave, it gave an insight where the jewelry industry is also. So learning is considered as one of the key elements, though he said that budget is a constraint in couple of organizations, but they luckily have some budget, and every organization should keep a budget for learning or for their employees, for their development. So this is also another second thing I like. The third thing he emphasized about the external facilitators, external coaches, external companies having LMS in place, performance management system in place. I think some of these were key takeaways to the questions which were oriented towards this particular creating a learning culture. But I will say, rather than creating a learning culture, they are already created. It is how they are sustaining that learning culture. So I got the answers more from sustaining learning culture, that they are already in place rather than creating, because they are already created it years back, maybe about 15, 17 years back. So that is what something I would say was my takeaway. He did share the hurdles, the impact, all those particular things. That is also was the takeaway of the session. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Sandeep, for sharing that nutshell as a part of the summary. Good one. So for all the visitors and the members here, once again, I would request Arul to share the link of Ms. Vasudha Madan's book. Yes, definitely Priyanka is getting it as a complimentary, but other people who wish to click on the link and then get a copy of Ms. Vasudha Madan's book, feel free. That link is going to be in the chat box. And with that, we come to an end of this episode, and I hand it over to Arul to share about the next week's leader and share a vote of thanks for Mr. Nishant Agrawal as well, and Sandeep Kulkarni and Vasudha. So over to you, Arul.
Yes, thank you everyone. So thank you, Mr. Nishant and Sandeep, for throwing so many insights about learning culture, and thanks to Ms. Vasudha Madan for sharing about your book and giving complimentary your book to the quiz winner. So before sharing about the next episode, let me quickly share again the purpose of the community. For the visitors who are attending for the first time, Leaders Connect 360 is a hybrid model leadership community where every week on Wednesday from 6:30 p.m. to 7:15 p.m., we invite a top management leader from Reputed Corporate Company to share the solution for real-time challenging situations. This Leadership 360 online leadership community also gives an opportunity to network with people on last Wednesday of every month through online, and once in 3 months with direct networking at each cities. Network with working professionals for personal, professional, or social needs. That's when we call it as leaders creating more leaders. So if you wish to join our community, please click on the below link, which I shared in the chat box. So now I'm happy to announce our next week guest, Ms. Pallavi Rani, Chief Executive Officer, Women's India Trust. Topic on dealing with change, which is on 9th November 2022, next Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. to 7:15 p.m. Registration link for the episode will be shared through social media platforms shortly. So I would like to thank our guest, Mr. Nishant, and the panel discussion leader, Mr. Sandeep, and our author of the week, Ms. Vasudha, for spending your valuable time in sharing experience and solutions and books. Thank you so much. Over to Prakash.
Great. Thanks very much, Arul, for the short, quick vote of thanks. And thanks very much, Nishant. So Nishant, one word if you'd like to share about at the end, what is that one word if you want to share with all, how the people should be in one word, if you have to give any learning culture word, could be any. So what would that be, Nishant? And we end with that episode.
I would quote a famous one-liner, which goes like, "You can never mandate a culture of learning."
True, very rightly said.
You can never mandate
a culture
of learning.
Okay, that's true. That's true. Definitely that awesomely shared. So thanks very much all for being a part of the session. Thanks very much, Nishant Agrawal, for taking up your time, your busy schedules,
Pleasure.
and giving us this particular opportunity as a guest of honor. Thanks, Sandeep, for taking up the role, and thanks, Vasudha, for all, and thanks all the people who have joined, the members and visitors who have joined us for the first time, and keep coming week after week, and every week as we all will be doing it. So we invite a top management leader. And thanks, Vasanthi Jason, for taking up the role today as a curtain raiser leader. It is really impactful, I believe so. So with all that, we have a small ending video or thanking video for all. And after that, we have an open discussion. People who wish to introduce yourself, and then because now so far we might have not got an opportunity to introduce each other, but yeah, time is done. So however, people wish to stay back to introduce with each other after this thanking video, we can stay back and we'll have an introduction session in short, so that we all know each other and network with each other. But thanks, Nishant Agrawal. The time is short.
Pleasure.
Then we'll definitely meet again. Yeah. And
Thank
overall,
you so much for inviting me.
Thank you very much, sir. It's been a pleasure, Nishant. So for all, it's a thanking video for all. Over to you, Arul. Hey, great. Thanks very much. Thank you all for being in. And Arul, kindly stop the recording as well. That will help. So this is the time now for you to introduce